Welcome to today's Arts Academy Masterclass. We are joined today by Hufrish Patel, and in just a moment, I'm going to give you a little bit of a background, but today you're going to get to explore virtually the Getty. If you've never been to the Getty, this is going to be an amazing experience for you. Part of this presentation, though, is going to require some asking of questions. And so when she poses questions, we're going to ask you to raise your hand, and I am going to unmute you. If for some reason we can't get you unmuted, you can then respond in the chat, and then we will share that information as we move through the presentation and the tour. So let me tell you a little bit about Hufrish. She's been a docent at the Getty since 2017. She is going to guide you today through an immersive art appreciation experience. You're going to get to see some of the Getty's prized art pieces and discuss them in a fun and explorative way. She's always had a love for art and fashion. She's used her design experience in events, interiors, and graphics. Currently, she's part of the team at John Moran Auctioneers. Other than that, fashion and design, Hufrish loves to travel and explore new cultures. We welcome you today. Thank you for giving us this amazing experience. And now I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson, and welcome to everyone from Clifton Middle School. I don't know if all of you know, but I also have a daughter at Clifton, and thank you so much for having me here today. So I'm going, as Ms. Jackson said, I've been a docent at the Getty since 2017, which makes it about 3 years or 3.5 years. Subtract 1 with the pandemic, and it makes it 2 years. So anyways, more about the Getty when we get into our presentation. And I just want to, can any of you type in your chats and let me know, has anyone been to the Getty before? That would kind of help me know what you're understanding and what you have seen before. And then without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we will start. So here we go. All right. Are you able to view that? I'm not seeing that.
Yes, we can see it says, welcome to the Getty Center.
Okay. And I'm going to start. It is in presentation mode. And there we go. That's better. All right. So first of all, welcome to the Getty. And when you come up in the tram, this is going to be the beautiful building that you would see first. And that is where we will start, and where I would normally, if we could be there in person, meet you right at the front of this building to welcome you. So I'm welcoming you with a photo instead. And then we move into the foyer of the Getty, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the Getty and where it comes from. Now, the Getty Museum was the legacy of an art collector, J. Paul Getty, and he believed that art should be for everyone. It shouldn't be only for the affluent or the rich or the artist community or anything. Art is something that everyone should be able to view. And so when he passed away, and even before that, he managed to have a lot of influence in having, sorry, excuse me. Sorry, something just came up on my screen. Can you see something else on my screen as well?
Nope, we only see the same slide you were sharing. You're good.
Okay, we're good. All right. Sorry, something's going wrong here. Hold on a second. This is the first time that I have presented something on Zoom, so please bear with me. And we'll go back to that. And where were we? There. All right, so I was telling you a little bit about John Paul Getty, and he made his millions and millions of dollars in the oil business, and he started collecting art And at some point he decided art should be for everyone. So he made a small little museum in his house in Malibu, which is now actually the Getty Villa. And then when he was older, he endowed a huge amount of money to the Getty Trust. And the Getty Trust is the one that actually built the Getty Center, which is where we are. It was built by architect, as you can see, Richard Meyer. It took 8 years to build, not include the 5 years before that it took to plan. And in later slides, I'll tell you how much it cost, which is a little bit crazy. So on our next slide, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what is art. And that's something that we always try to get to the bottom of when we're at the Getty. When we think of art, we usually think of paint and brushes. In this case, if you think actually art is anything that is creating something that the artist wants you to know or for him to share. It comes a lot with, it brings his viewpoints and it brings his emotions, his ideas, and it can be done in many, many ways. So as you can see here, there's a painting, there's sculpture, there's artifacts. And then what I don't have here, because this is all from the Getty, there are auditory art pieces, which is mostly music, vocal, instrumental, poetry, which is verbal. And then you have performing art, which is dance, theater, even magicians are actually artists, if you think about it. So that's something that we would all consider art. And in this case, we're doing more of visual art. Now, teaching at the Getty is very different from what you would normally. This is not how I would normally do a tour, because the Getty has a very different philosophy on how it does art education and art experience. So me as a docent, my main goal when you come to the Getty would be to create opportunities for you to engage with the art. I normally wouldn't do this lecture kind of stuff. We would go to a piece of art and we would do activities and discussions and talking. And I'm hoping that we can maybe do that on one of the other paintings, but it's a very mutual discussion that we would have about the art. And there's one thing that I love to tell everyone, and that has the Getty philosophy. There are no wrong questions and there are no wrong answers. So when you look at the art, just like the artist put in his thoughts and his viewpoints and his experiences into the painting, when we come in as viewers, we bring the same stuff with us, our experiences, our backgrounds, our cultural issues, everything that we've been through. And then when we look at the piece of art, all of that is affected in how we view it and what our impression of that is. So our philosophy at the Getty is to have everyone feel free with whatever backgrounds they come up with or come with, and they can view the art in their own way. It doesn't have to be a right way of seeing this art. It doesn't even have to be theoretical. You don't need to know who the artist is. You don't really need to know when it's drawn. As long as you can see the art and you can feel something and maybe try to understand what the artist was trying to do there. And that's really important for us at the Getty as docents to do. So this brings me to our painting. This is one of my favorite paintings at the Getty. It is called Modern Rome, and it is painted by an artist called Joseph Turner, and it's an oil painting on canvas. It was painted in 1839. That's how old this painting is. And of course, he lived in England, so that's where this painting came from. And I won't bore you. As I said, we don't do a lot of theories. I'm not going to give you the whole thing of where this painting's been and how it came about. But I want to talk to you a little bit more about having a discussion of what you feel with this painting. So I'm going to let you see the painting, and then Ms. Jackson's gonna unmute you so that we can kind of have a little bit of a discussion. Okay, so I'm going to take you onto that page where we can see that painting. All right, everyone able to see that painting?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. Now, this is what you would see at the Getty. It's a painting in the gold frame. You can see it's a really, really elaborate frame, and it's fairly large. It looks small here, but I'm going to zoom in, and I want everyone to take about 3 seconds to look at this painting, all the way from top to bottom, side to side, every corner, and we're just going to look at it in silence for about 3 seconds. Okay, so let's start that. Okay. So now, Ms. Jackson, if you think you could unmute some of the kids, or if they can open a chat, I don't know how it would be that we could interact.
Yeah, let's see. Students, if you would like to interact right now, can you do me a favor and raise your hand and I will unmute you? All right, we got a hand raised. Here we go. Kiernan, can you hear me?
Hello?
All right.
That painting, I have never seen that before.
You've never seen that one before. Well, so now that everyone has had a chance to look at it, I would like you guys to tell me 2 words of how it makes you feel. Would you be able to tell me that? And don't tell me specifics. Don't tell me it's red or orange or yellow or colors or anything. I want you to tell me how it makes you feel.
The painting looks very interesting to me.
Interesting. Okay. Anyone else?
Okay, let me, here's another one. Amira, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect.
So 2 words that this painting makes me feel, I'd say like mystical, because it's Rome. You can see the Colosseum and such. Another word that might like maybe like, since it's like it's like almost like ancient.
Ancient. Very good. Okay, so it's making you feel old and mystical. Very good. All right, anyone else?
Anyone else want to raise their hand?
Or you could put it in your chat. You could just put 2 words in your chat and Ms. Jackson can tell me what they are.
Let's see.
No, no one else?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
All right.
Yes, I have a hand up. Yep, I have
Okay.
a hand up. Yasmin, here we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
There we go.
So
All right.
Hi, Yasmin, what does this painting make you feel?
it makes me feel confused and shocked.
Really? Okay. That's very, very interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Why is it confusing you?
Because I guess the colors, they contrast each other. Like there's dark and light. It sort of makes me feel like, think of, I guess, for lack of better words, heaven and hell.
Very great. That's a very interesting viewpoint. So you're kind of at this vantage point where you're seeing a darkness and a lightness, and it's kind of confusing you about what it's making you feel. Perfect. Okay, so a little bit more about this painting, and you guys were right, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the others will be feeling the same kind of thing, where one of you said it's mystical, and that's very true, because I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the painting. William Turner painted this out of his memory 10 years after he went to Rome. So as you can see, there's this dreamlike quality to his painting, and it shows the foreground that you see over here, which is the dark part, is something that he's obviously made up because he couldn't remember that from 10 years. But then the whole other area is something that he remembers from 10 years ago. So maybe if we compare that to actual Rome, everything is not exactly in the spot that it should be, because he is creating this out of memory. And the other thing that this particular artist was really, really known for is his use of light. Light as in like the light that shows the painting. So in this case, if you can see closer, there's a moon over here, right? So it looks like it's dusk and the sun is setting. And at the same time, you can see all of this light coming over here, which looks like the sun is setting somewhere over here, right? So the time that he's thinking of this is somewhere around late evening, where the moon is rising and the sun is setting. And that has always been one of his specialties, is of him using light in his paintings. And as you can see, this area is where the mountain is. So when the sun is setting, it's causing a shadow. And that is why this area is a lot darker. So I hope you can see it. I'm going to zoom in one more time so you can actually see all the details, like the little horses or goats or whatever he's drawn there, and then the trees and all the rocks and people. You can see how rough these are, but at the same time, when you zoom out, they look like actual people. So he's a pretty amazing artist. And I want to show you a little bit about some of his other paintings that show you similar light areas. So like you see this one, all of his paintings are very surreal, and his brush strokes are very dreamlike. Like, look at that one. Okay. There you go. There's another one. So these are all Turners. You can see he has a very distinct style. All right. And so that brings me to the next piece of art. Now, I told you art is not just painting. So I'm going to take you to the next one, which is the other favorite of mine, and that is the Chandelier. And that is done by Gerard Gall. And it is an amazing piece if you see it in person. I hope that you can visit me at the Getty at some point and we can go and see this together. And this was, okay, I see I wrote the date wrong over there. It was made between 1818 and 1819. So again, it is a really, really old piece. And I'm going to take you through some of its really, really gorgeous features. So here you go again. This is the Chandelier. And the Chandelier was built to resemble the hot air balloon. I don't know if everyone else can see the structure where the artist has this as the balloon. And then he's got the basket, the glass bowl at the bottom, which normally would be the basket that hangs below the hot air balloon. Now, the reason why this inspired him is that the hot air balloon was invented maybe a few years before, and he was really fascinated by it, and he used that as inspiration to create this piece of art. Okay. And then this is really cool, but the bowl over here was meant to hold water and have goldfish swimming in it. Now, this is not a chandelier that you and I would have above our dining table. Okay, this is going to be a chandelier that hangs in a ballroom in some palace, where the candles and the light that reflects on the glass and the bowl with the water with the goldfish is going to be pretty spectacular. It's something to talk about. And then we're going to get close up, and you can see that there's a lot of ancient Roman and Greek influence over here as well. I'm sure all of you, or most of you, have read Percy Jackson, so you might know some of these some of these creatures, if you can. If you know any of those creatures, would you type them into your chat so Ms. Jackson could let me know if you recognize any of them, and then we'll see if we have any of the common names.
Any ideas, students? You can type right into the chat. I've got it open.
Okay, no. All right. So as you can see over here, there's griffins and eagles, and then these palm leaves, which are actually called palmettes, are very, very commonly used in Greek and Roman art structures, and you'll see them on a lot of the ancient stuff. I'm going to zoom in on that so you can see it real close. Now, this in fact is a better way of seeing the chandelier, because if you come to the Getty, it's hanging and you don't really get to get this up close with this. So this is a great way to explore some of the paintings up close. So as you can see, he's used a lot of mythical beasts and part eagle, part lion, and they've always been associated with royalty and precious possessions of very rich people. So it was one of the things he used on this. Same goes for the motif of the palm leaves, which are always used for that. And then there's this there's the rooster head, which was the icon used for France. A lot of the royalty in France had the rooster as their motif. And so that was one of the things. This was made for somebody in France. That brings us to the eagles that are there on the bowl. Now you can imagine this was made in the 1800s. That's 300 years ago. So if you're thinking of how this is made, that's a whole other experience of trying to understand what kind of tools did they use to get all this fine work done with the glass, with the gilt, and all of that. The next thing, which is really fascinating on the chandelier, is this band that you see running across the globe. And the stars, which actually depict the heavens. And this band actually is the zodiac sign. So if you're at the Getty, you could walk around and find your zodiac sign over there. There's Aries, there's Taurus, there's Gemini, Scorpio, I think that's Cancer, Leo, Virgo. I'm not very good at my signs. So all of these are wrapped around the chandelier on that band. All right, so here's a close-up of some of the glass pieces. As you can see, the bowl has a crack in it, but they do not want to replace it because they want to keep the original glass from 1800 in this place. And we keep trying to restore it at the Getty. They keep taking care to take it down and make sure it doesn't shatter. All right. Now, if any of you want to look at this up close on your own, the link is the Google Arts and Culture website. If you want, I'm going to copy and paste this into our chat so that you guys can use it to go and look at this on your own at a later time, okay? So that is the chandelier, which is, again, one of my favorite pieces over there. And then I'm going to go on to a little bit. Getty is so much more than just its art. And that's something that a lot of people are surprised. They think, oh, it's a museum. We're just going to go inside and look at art. But the Getty is, I'm going to take you through some of my other pieces of art real quick. Just going to flip through it every few seconds. There's the hare in the forest, which is, again, a really nice one to try to explore when we're there together, because I would like to stand in front of the painting normally and talk about how it smells and how it feels. And there are kids that come in my class who would actually be like, I can smell the wet floor of the forest, or I can smell the bitterness of the leaves or the softness of the fur, of the hair. So there are just so many feelings that will come out of this painting. And then this one over here is called Spring. Again, it totally gives you the feeling of what you would feel when you're in that space. And then here's one which shows a lot of emotion. So that's another fun one that we normally do with the kids. And we have everybody make the faces to show us and try to explain what kind of emotion do you think this guy is going through. And then this is one of Getty's most famous paintings. It's by Vincent Van Gogh, if you've heard of that artist. And it's the irises. It's one of their prized possessions. This room is very fascinating. It is actually a room that has been recreated with the original panels and doors and all the artifacts from an actual French royal villa. And I usually take the kids in here and we try to do a little bit of a recreation or role play of what it would be like to be a royal in this room. So coming up to the actual huge part of the Getty, which is not just the art, is that the whole Getty is considered a piece of art. It is built on 742 acres and it cost about $1.3 billion to build. And this was in the 80s. It was being built around 1989. And the way it is done is the parking lot is way below here at the bottom of the hill. And you would take a tram and it will take you all the way up on the tramway and you'll be able to see all of LA while you're going up. And then you come to the Getty and this is where all the galleries are. And then it has a garden that is sunken. And one of the things to remember in this is, here are a few pictures of the garden. And this was created by an architect and artist, Robert Irwin. So there were two artists working together, or two architects working together, one for the building and one for the garden. And they both worked simultaneous to make the whole thing a piece of art. When it comes to the art and the building, the whole piece is art. They didn't want to just make a flat piece of land. And so they built the buildings around the topography of the mountains. So the buildings are on the top and then you walk down into the middle where the gardens are. And that is where you can have a little bit of time to reflect on the art that you have seen. And so there's a lot of thought and psychological stuff that has gone into creating all these spaces at the Getty. There are outdoor rooms where you can sit and reflect on stuff. And it's just a beautiful place with water and light and a lot of open air to just not be looking at the art, because there is something called museum fatigue. It's a real thing. If you're walking through the gallery the whole time, at some point, you will not appreciate it as much. So the Getty was built so you have enough time to go in and out of rooms in order to be able to really appreciate them. So I'm going to end the presentation with a quote from Mr. Getty, and it says, "To me, my works of art are all vividly alive. They are an embodiment of whoever created them, a mirror of the creator's hopes, dreams, and frustrations." And that is really true for the artist, but it is also very true for the people who view the art, because you look at the art as a mirror of your hopes, dreams, and frustrations. So there is no one right way of looking at a piece of art. Whatever you come with, your hopes, your dreams, your frustration, you've had a good day or a bad day, or your background, everything is how it will affect the way you look at a piece of art. So with that, I end my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And I look forward to seeing you guys all at the Getty at some point.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Students, let's use the Q&A and let's take a couple moments if you have questions. She would be happy to answer them. We actually do have one question asking you, what is this website that you're using to present?
Oh, it is called canva.com. There you go. And I'm going to write it in the Q&A. Would they be able to see if I write it in the QA in the chat session?
Yeah, put it in the chat. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the website that I am using to create my presentations. You can use it for a lot of other creative processes as well. And actually, I was thinking of that as being maybe one of the sessions I could do for the students, because I know all of them love using Instagram and TikTok. And this actually is a great way to create your social media presence as well, if you'd like to do that. But yes, this is one of my favorite sites that I use for doing a lot of my presentations.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions? What is your favorite type of art style?
My favorite type of art style, I would say, is actually contemporary and abstract for me personally. The Getty, I really enjoy it. It is more ancient and 18th to 19th century art. Personally, I do love more of abstract and modern art. And that's why this painting, like I showed you, is one of my favorites, because it's the closest, even though it's made in 1800s, it's the closest to an abstract and modern painting that you would come. That's why it's one of my favorites.
Excellent. What's required to become a docent?
There's several factors that they look at to become a docent. You would apply to be a docent over there. And what they're mainly looking for is someone who would be comfortable talking to people and who enjoys art. So those would be the two basic things. Other than that, you don't need any training, because they put you through a whole year of training themselves to make sure that you understand their philosophy and that you do your tours using the philosophy that the docent believes in. I mean, that the Getty believes in.
Got it. What age of art is your favorite, such as the Renaissance era, the modern era, etc.?
Yeah, I think I kind of answered that question. I think the modern era would be one of my favorite eras. I would say actually the mid 20th century is my favorite, which is called mid-century modern. It's more graphic, it's more linear, and a little more simple with kind of color blocks. I don't have any of those paintings because the Getty itself does not collects art from a certain era, which is not what I enjoy. So it's not that I don't enjoy these, but that's basically what is my favorite era of art.
Do you have any advice for people who are trying to learn and get better at art?
The one thing I would say is practice. When you start doing art, don't try to be perfect. And I think that is my biggest advice to anyone who's trying to start art. You can be any age, it doesn't matter what age you are. But a lot of times you see a piece of art and you're like, oh, I want to do that. And then if yours doesn't turn out like that, don't lose hope. So the thing is, whatever's in your head, put it down on paper. Try it and try it again. If you don't, and I've got paintings in my basement, but that I never put up and I still don't like, but they're part of my practice. And then when I get to a place where I painted something that I like, and then that's up on my walls and in my house. So it won't start out perfect. And so that is my biggest advice, is don't give up and keep practicing. At some point you will reach a level that you will be satisfied with.
Excellent. We're going to end with this last question. How many total paintings are there at the Getty?
Ooh, good question. I don't think I have an answer for that, to be honest with you, because the Getty has so many paintings that they're not always all out at the same time. They have a whole underground. The Getty is basically several levels. There's the one level which the visitors get to see, and then there's all of this underground area where the paintings are stored and they're restored and they're repaired. So I really do not know the number of the entire collection, to be honest with you. And also, we do have a lot of visiting collections a lot of times. Like LACMA will do an exhibition, or something from Europe, or some museum. Like we had a museum that was going through repairs in Europe, and they moved all of their collection to the Getty, and we had it for 2 years. So at that time, our collection was a different amount. So I really don't have that answer, unfortunately, but I would say a lot.
Well, this has been so informative and so interesting, and we want to thank you so much for giving us this amazing experience. And right before I said this is the last question, it was asked again, what platform did you use to create this? So whoever asked that, because it was anonymous, is canva.com. And yes, maybe Hoofresh, we need to talk about another session on how to use Canva, because you're drawing the attention of students.
That's great. That means it's working, and
Yep.
it's a great platform, and it drew their attention. So that's wonderful. And if you like, I can send you. I put the link of where you can explore art, which is the Google Art, and then Canva.
Yep.
And there's also Getty.edu, where you can go to explore their actual collection.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for giving us this amazing opportunity. And thank you, Clifton Cubs, for being here today for the Arts Academy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.